I'm a friend of the show, Simon Fisher-Becker, and you're listening to Traveling the Vortex.
Traveling the Vortex. Side trip.
Hello everybody, this is Chrissy coming to you from Salt Lake Comic Con Day 1. It's the end of the day. I am exhausted beyond belief, but it's a good kind of exhausted. I spent my time at Salt Lake Comic Con today in the vendors hall because, like I said before, I was working the library booth. Our library system had a booth in the vendors hall, and we shared it. I worked for the county library, Salt Lake County Library, and we shared it with Salt Lake City Library. And they got there first and to set up because their main branch is closer to the convention center where Comic-Con was, and we from the county had to come from a little further ways away. So we got in and we had to go around to the back to the loading dock to get all our stuff unloaded. And thank goodness we had a little hand truck because we had a lot of stuff, a lot of flyers and things we were handing out. And I took the hand truck in. The librarian I drove with, she went to go park the car. She had to park a couple blocks away. And I was a little nervous because I was like, I don't have my vendor's badge yet. I have my 3-day pass wristband that'll get me into the con as a regular con goer, but I don't know if I should be here. But people just but I had the hand truck behind me and I was just pulling it up and people just waved me like, go on in, it's fine. And I didn't even get my vendor's badge till I actually got to where the booth was, because the city library people had already gotten all our badges for us, which was really nice of them. So we got all that. Then I got the booth set up, which was a little awkward because we got there a little bit after the main con floor opened. So there were people going back and forth, and I'm trying to set up, and the city library people are trying to talk to people going by, so I kind of felt a little silly. But we got it all set up, and it looks great. We have a cardboard cutout of Darth Vader, life-size cardboard cutout of Darth Vader that we brought, and we came up with a really neat little caption. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but they're on my Twitter feed, on Instagram, and I'll post them on my blog at some point, I'm sure. And it says, "I find your lack of a library card disturbing." And we have, and Darth Vader has his hand held up a little bit, and we taped a library card to the hand, and it was that was a huge hit. People would walk by and say the caption in Darth Vader's voice and have a good laugh about it, and we'd get to stop them and talk about the library a little bit, do some outreach. We'd get to talk to them for maybe like 20 seconds. If they had a cool costume, I would usually stop and say, "Hey, can I take a picture?" And they'd be more than happy to do that. And I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I actually came up with that caption for the Darth Vader cardboard cutout. There were a couple others that they're going to use throughout the weekend, but I thought, hey, this is the one I thought of. We're going to use it today, and it turned out to be a hit. So it was so much fun today. The way our booth was set up, we were on the corner where two ends kind of intersect, and so we would some of us would stand on one side, the other people would stand on the other, and there were always 2 people from the city and 2 people from the county at the booth. Well, it wasn't a very big space, so we kind of decided, okay, we'll do this in shifts, and when it's not our time, we'll take a break every once in a while and go walk around the floor and just see what there's to see. And there was so much to see. We had Artist Alley was just a little ways in front of us. And we were kind of on the edge of the main vendors area. There was one that was across from us that was some video game or gaming company. It was actually called Big Finish Games, and I had to do a double take. I actually got a picture of the little printed piece of paper that says Big Finish Games, and I think I scared some people. I was like, Big Finish! And it was kind of neat, but it's like, not that Big Finish, unfortunately. But I did see plenty of Doctor Who stuff. Just kitty corner from where our booth was, there was another booth selling Doctor Who toys and cardboard cutouts of the Doctor, the 11 and 10, and they had cardboard cutouts of the TARDIS, which I was sorely tempted to get, but I didn't know how I was going to haul it home, so I didn't get it. And honestly, when I got it home, I don't know where I would put it. My room is not that big. So it was, but I got a picture of it. And they also had cardboard cutouts of Harry Potter characters. I just took pictures of them. And then in the back was Autograph Alley. Now after we got set up and kind of settled in with our booth, it was probably about 4:30. And it wasn't, it was busy, but not that busy. And that's about when I took my break, or my first break, to go walk around the con floor, and I was back in Autograph Alley, and the lines were not that long, and I was like, I could see, because they had posters of each guest where they're signing autographs, and so you could see where everybody was, and I was kind of looking like, well, are they really there, or is there just not a line? Because I thought there were a couple autographs I wanted to get, like I said in my first update. So I go up, and there was David Yost and Walter Jones were right next to each other because they were from the original Power Rangers, and I wanted to get David Yost's autograph, and I kept looking, and I was like, is he really there, or is there just no line? Because if the guest wasn't there, there would still be someone at the table to kind of tell people, okay, they're at a panel or they're at a photo op, but they will be back at such and such a time. But no, David and Walter were both there, and what you could do is you could get an autograph with either one of them for $20, and if you wanted, you could pay an extra $10, and they would pose for a photograph with you with your own camera at the table. And I kind of thought it would be cool, but I decided not to spend the money because I'm trying to save for Galley, but I really wanted to get David Yost's autograph. So there was a little bit of a line by the time I kind of figured out how the line worked. And it was fine because I wanted to have some lag time to decide, what picture I wanted to get and what I would say to him when I got up there. And the people behind me, we were kind of started talking like, oh my gosh, I watched the Power Rangers when I was a kid, and I still, I really love it. And Billy was my favorite Power Ranger, and we were just kind of talking back and forth. And I was really, really struck, just standing in line waiting for the autograph, just how much, these shows. These actors aren't in the show anymore, but we remember them from our childhood, and it was sort of a unique experience. This is so special to us. Even though I haven't really watched the show for so long, even the original series that I watched when I was a kid, it still stuck with me. And when they announced that these guys would be at this con, I was just crazy. I went nuts. I was so happy about it and was planning on getting his autograph. And I told him as much when I got up there. I just said, I was really excited when they announced you were coming. I watched the show when I was younger. I was really happy to meet him, and David was very gracious and said, well, that was very kind of you to say that. I'm glad I could make it, and glad I could come and meet all these people, and just, it was so nice, so neat to meet him and all that. So I got my picture, or I got a picture signed with him, and then I walked off, and I still had maybe about 20 minutes before I had to be back at the booth, but I kind of ran back to the booth just so it was sort of home base for me, because I wasn't hyperventilating as such, but I was just like, yee! Had that little those squee moments, and I got back there, and my coworker was there, and she was like, well, what have you seen? You're back soon. I'm like, 9-year-old me is freaking out right now, and I showed her the picture I got, and she was like, oh, that's cool. And she's a little bit older than me, but she's kind of my age group, so I think she kind of got it, even if it may or may not have been something she was into. But she's this librarian I was working with today, she's very much into geek culture. That's kind of why we were there, because of her efforts in the first place. So she got it. She got what I was trying to do and things. So it was a really neat experience. I was trying to think what else I saw. Oh, speaking of autographs, and I finally did get to meet Simon Fisher Becker. First time I went there, I went soon after I went to David Yost, and Simon wasn't there, but he did have someone there manning his table. Is this lady and I said, well, when will he be back? Oh, in about 20 minutes. He's doing a photo op right now, but you can go down and pay. I can't remember how much it was. It was kind of expensive, and get a picture taken with him and everything. And this lady, she was selling like a pro. Because when I went back to get Simon's autograph, his autographs, I think, were $30. And he had the regular prints out there of Dorian Maldivar and the Fat Friar that he was in Harry Potter. But then there was a special con exclusive poster that one of the artists had drawn of Dorian, and I had a lanyard that says police box, and I had some Doctor Who pins. I had my Dalek earrings in, so this lady could tell I was a Doctor Who fan, and she was like, "Oh, and he has this picture. And it's for $20 extra, and he'll sign that. And then the artist who drew it is actually here at the convention, and he'll sign it as well. He's over in Artist Alley." I mean, this lady was so slick about her job. She was great. And I kind of was like, well, I want to get this picture with Dorian and the Doctor. There was one of him and Matt Smith, so I was like, I want this one. She's like, okay. So she wasn't pushy, and she, when I made my decision, I knew what I wanted. And then I got up and talked to Simon, and I said, Simon, it's good to meet you. I'm so glad that you could be here. And I said, you were at Gallifrey 1 a couple of years ago. He's like, yes, I do. I remember that. And I said, you met some of my friends from Traveling the Vortex, Sean and Mel. Like, oh, I remember them. Yes. And I was telling him that you guys call him a friend of the show, Simon Fisher Becker, and he seemed very touched by that. And he said to send his regards to you, and I did the same. I said I told him he was a very excellent guest when he was on, and we thought the world of him, and we thought very highly of him, and he seemed very touched by that. And I asked him for a bumper, which he was very gracious, very kind to provide, and I hope I checked it a couple of times before I left to make sure it was still there, and yes, it was still there, and I got it up, so hopefully the boys will get that on this on the podcast eventually. I'm sure they will. They're great about it. So I got Simon's autograph. He was a fantastic person to talk to. I didn't get to talk to him for very long because there were people coming up behind him, and I'd taken enough time getting the bumper and everything. I want to talk to him more, but I wasn't able to. But he did do a panel, and I kind of messed up my scheduling when I was signing up to work at this booth today, because he was doing a panel today, and I wish I could have seen it, but I heard about it from other Doctor Who fans later, and he did the big Doctor Who speech, and I guess it was a big hit in his panel, and and I guess the crowd went wild, and I wish I could have been there, but I heard good things about it. So that was my bad on my part. I should have gone, but there were plenty of other things to see in the vendors hall. Someone brought in a TARDIS that they built, and it turned out, I found out later, I got my picture in front of it, and someone had a life-size cardboard cutout of the 10th Doctor standing next to it. I had my 10th Doctor screwdriver, so I got someone took my picture with it just with my iPhone. I think I posted it on my Instagram. So I got my picture taken with that. But then later, when I was wandering around, I met a group of people. One was cosplaying as a 10th Doctor, one as the 11th, and then the girl with them cosplayed as Tumblr. She wore a blue t-shirt or a blue jacket and blue jeans and a blue hat, and she had a cutout of the Tumblr logo, and she was carrying around with her, and then she had Tumblr written on her shirt, and then she had on her hat the toolbar that's up at the top, and I thought that was really clever. But anyway, this group of kids, I was saying, oh, I love your Doctor Who costumes and everything, and the Tumblr thing's cool, and they're like, oh, did you see the TARDIS in the middle? And I said, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we helped build that. And apparently, and I've seen this before on Facebook, some of my friends, there's a city just north of Salt Lake, probably a half hour north of Salt Lake, called Bountiful, and these people who live in Bountiful built this TARDIS, and it's sitting in their driveway. So people who are going by in the neighborhood will stop and take their picture next to the TARDIS. They're like, oh my gosh, the Doctor is in your driveway. How cool is that? So they brought the TARDIS from their driveway to the con and were having people take pictures with it. There's actually a sign next to it. It's just sitting in this kind of this open space in the middle of the vendor's hall, and there's a sign that says, yes, you can take pictures of this, and there's not like anything roped off or anything. You just go up and take your picture with it. And they're not charging for anything. There is somebody there, sitting there making sure that, nothing breaks or people don't vandalize it or anything like that. But it was so neat, so cool. I have to think what else to talk about. Oh, Weta Workshop. Weta Workshop was amazing. They had this whole big area staked out for them, and it looked like a miniature museum piece. I'm not even kidding. They had the big sign that said Weta that's hanging from the ceiling, and then they have kind of these rugs on the floor, and then they have this one section where you can tell that's sort of their back room, quote unquote, but it's designed to look like the opening or the walls around the dwarf city, the Lonely Mountain. Now I can't think of what it's called, where Thorin and all his gang are from, but it is beautiful. It is just so cool. They have it designed, and I have pictures. I'll post them because I can't really describe this. But they have like display cases with weapons that they have designed for the characters. There was Thorin's sword, Orcrist, I think that's Thorin's sword. They had some of the dwarf axes, some elf bows, and a bunch of other things that they've done, and it's set into these stone, quote unquote, glass cases, and on the columns in between each glass case there is a statue of the dwarf design set into the stone. It is really cool. And then on top of this thing, there's a big statue of Gandalf on one side, and then there's Thorin on the other. And then down on the floor, they had a Gollum statue, which people were taking pictures of themselves with it, and I got my picture taken with it, which was cool. And then they had some smaller glass cases of models of the different characters. There were some from Lord of the Rings. There was a replica of Bilbo's contract with the dwarves to join Thorin's company. And I was just reading the whole thing. It was so cool, and I got chills looking at it. It was so neat. And then there was another case with models of the characters from The Hobbit, and there was Radagast, there was Gandalf, Thorin. I need to go back because I didn't really see a Bilbo. Now that I think about it, I can't remember seeing one, which kind of surprised me. I'm sure there is one. I just missed it. But then this one, and you could buy all these. I mean, they're like $500, but you could buy them and bring them home and put them on your mantelpiece. And there was one huge one of a goblin on one of those white wolf thingies, and I can't remember what they're called. I'm so horrible now. And it was huge, and it was $1,000 easily, I'm sure. And this is the first day of the con. Or keep this in mind. So I'm looking at all these things, and they each have price tags next to them. But by this huge warg that is actually looking like it's going to attack somebody, over the little little placard that had the price, it said sold out, and go to this website to join the wait list. And I was looking at that like, first day of the con, you've already sold out of that particular model. That is amazing. And it's not like it was a hobbit or one of the dwarves or Gandalf or anything. It was a warg with a goblin riding him, and it was kind of funny. So some of us kind of exclaimed over that and things. And then there was the big scary goblin, the one at the end of the movie with the hook hand, and not the warty Goblin King. It's the other one. Gosh, I can't remember what they're called. I need to watch that movie again. And it was where it was placed. It was standing. It looks like it was standing over the corner of where these two aisles intersected. And people were like looking up and taking pictures. It's actually it was probably one of the first pictures I saw of the Weta Workshop display, because they were posting it on Facebook last night, just as they were getting all the things set up. And at that corner, everybody was stopping to take pictures, looking up, and there was some gridlock there, which was okay, because it was just cool to see that whole big thing, and I was just floored by how much stuff that they had there. And like I said, it was like a museum, a miniature museum right there in the middle, smack dab in the middle of the vendors hall and the convention. So that was really neat. So back at the library booth, like I talked to so many people today just about library stuff, and it was cool because people, we had some little freebies like pencils and notebooks and just little things and bookmarks to give out with our website on them to give out to people to promote the library. And you're in the vendors hall and people are selling stuff, and they're like, are all these free? And like, yeah, take them. And I would tell, the city had these little blank sketch pad notebook things, and I would tell the kids, if you meet someone famous, have them sign it, just kind of as a joke, and they would laugh and go, ha ha. We'd have some people stop and take a picture with the Darth Vader cardboard cutout. There were tons of really neat cosplayers there. For Doctor Who cosplayers, most of what I saw was the 11th and 10th Doctor. I did see a few Tom Baker scarves and some of that. There were some really cool Dalek dresses. So these girls, they stopped by the library booth. I was like, Daleks! They're like, yay, Daleks! And we kind of geeked out over that. There was a Sherlock that stopped by, a femme Sherlock, and that was cool. And there was Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph. There was a girl dressed up like him, and she would go Turbo-tastic, and we'd squee over that. And then there was a girl she was with her mom and her siblings. She was dressed up as Korra from The Legend of Korra. It's the Avatar: The Last Airbender sequel. And I was excited about that. Like, that looks so neat. And she was probably like maybe 16, 17, and she was really cool. She saw that, and her mom had on a Doctor Who t-shirt. I can't remember which one, but we were talking about Doctor Who a little bit, and the mom said, yeah, I've been a Doctor Who fan for a while. Getting my daughter, trying to get my kids into it, and my daughter here, the girl that was dressed up like Korra, she's just getting into the new series, into Christopher Eccleston. I was like, oh, do you like it? She's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I said, well, do you ever listen to podcasts at all? And she's like, no, but it might be something kind of cool. And I had my little business cards that I had that I'm not selling anything or anything, but I just have my blog and my Twitter handle and Tumblr and say, hey, this is me, come find me online. And on the back, I printed off, check out my friends traveling the Vortex, and I have the website on there. And it's like, this podcast is really cool because kind of when I was starting out, I would listen to podcasts, but a lot of them were podcasts that knew everything, and they would make references to things I didn't know about yet, and I was a little nervous about it. But this podcast right here is actually, the premise of it is two friends introducing two friends who have been Doctor Who fans for a while, introducing another friend who is brand new to Doctor Who, and they would talk about the reviews and stuff. And I was like, this is perfect for someone just learning about it and who wants to get into it. And and they talk about other things, and they're really silly, but they're a lot of fun. So give it a try. And I would tell people about it. So that was a lot of fun. So hopefully we get some new listeners. Hi guys, I hope you don't think I was too weird when I was trying to talk to you about the library or the podcast or any of my other stuff that I was doing. So anyway, tomorrow I'm hoping to get in on some panels. I hope I don't have to be on my feet too much, but maybe I will because I'll be in lines anyway trying to get into panels. I was trying to think what else there was. Oh, when I was by the booth, or when I was in the booth, we were next to, it's called Salty City Film Festival. And I think they're kind of a horror film festival is kind of the vibe I got from them. This is the first I've heard of them. And they were doing like special makeup sessions. Like you could go sit in their chair and she would like paint on a bullet hole or a stab wound on you or something. And it was kind of neat to watch these people, like watch little kids would come and get some like scar on their arm or whatever. Or she would kind of talk about doing makeup, so I had like one ear on what she was talking about. But then I would smell this like whatever the makeup was that had that smell. It smelled like rubber cement. Maybe it was rubber cement, but she was spraying it. It was like a really strong hairspray or something, and I could smell it, and I'd just get lightheaded, and I was just like, I gotta go sit down. So I had that going on, which I didn't mind it because it didn't happen very often, but when it did happen, I was just kind of like, oh gosh, this stuff stinks. So that was my other little experience with our booth neighbors. So that was a lot of fun. But the whole experience was just so cool. I just seeing all these things and all the things that have been able to come. Like I said, this is my first big Comic-Con. And it is an amazing experience. They were very well run, very well organized. Even when we had part of the carpet was coming up by our booth, and we had to and people were tripping over it, and we could see them, and some people were like, hey, can you do something about this? Like, we're not part of the con, we're just here as a vendor. So I had to go to the information booth and tell them, hey, and this is like probably like close to 8 o'clock, and they actually extended the hours of the con because people weren't going home. They were supposed to end at 8, and they extended it by like a half hour. Then finally they had to flash lights like, everybody go home. But they said it nicer than that. But anyway, so it's about 8 o'clock, and people are tripping over this bit of carpet that's come up that wasn't taped down very well. So I go over to the information and find one of the con staff and say, hey, this is going on over by our booth. They're like, yeah, we can't do anything about that. And I was like, what do you mean? Well, you see that over there, and there was another booth that was some engineering something. Their union, they left 2 hours ago. And I'm like, you're kidding me. And these guys that left, they're the ones that put all the booths up, they put the carpet down on the floor, and they get really mad if you touch it and if you try to fix something like fixing the carpet. But I'm like, but people are tripping over it, come see. And the guy came with me, and he's like, oh yeah, this is bad. And so, and he was like, yeah, we need to fix this, but he wasn't sure what to do. So finally, like we would have our staff try to stand on the carpet just so people wouldn't trip over it, but then they trip over it anyway because they're trying to get around us. So finally, it was like emergency paramedics came, and because someone told them, hey, this is a hazard, this is a liability waiting to happen. They finally came and just put duct tape down on the floor to keep the carpet down. And it was like, you had to go get the paramedics to put down some duct tape so people wouldn't trip over the carpet. Okay. So I was like, well, whatever works, because people were, it was a problem. But it was just kind of funny that they had to go to such lengths to do that. So anyway, but I'm going to go ahead and sign off and send this in, and hopefully you will hear this. You'll probably hear this while I am in a panel, I hope. Tomorrow. I hope you've enjoyed these updates. I've enjoyed talking about them because who doesn't love the sound of their own voice, really? But no, this is a real treat for me to get to do this. So, on behalf of Traveling the Vortex, this is Chrissy from Salt Lake Comic Con, and I will be back tomorrow with more updates. Until then, bye-bye!